Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the playultra podcast. I'm your host Shar, and this is a gaming podcast where we talk about the latest news, issues, and topics like game mechanics and gaming culture on the deeper level. With me is my co-host John. How are you doing, John?
I am doing fantastic. I have to say, that intro knocked out the first intro I ever did for any podcast ever. Like, I remember I stumbled over every single word imaginable, so we had to go back and redo it like 6 or 7 times until I just like nailed it.
Thank you very much.
So I'm giving you my applause on that
Thank
one.
you. And joining us will be Samantha. How are you, Sam?
Hello. Yes, I'm good. Yeah, so we're off to a good start then, right?
Yep, cool.
None of us are. I mean, at least none of us has sneezed yet. I mean, that's what I was worried about. Just
So,
random awful sounds.
So we're gonna talk about a few things today. Waypoints in games, the ultra-violent game Hatred, and Yooka Laylee, or Kickstarter, or whatever you want to call it.
Yay!
So let's start with Waypoints in games. And no, before that, what has everybody been playing? Where do you start, John?
So yeah, lately what I've been playing is a mixture of all sorts of different things. I've been playing Castle in the Darkness a lot lately, which is like kind of a throwback retro design game where it's just, I don't know, it's just like fucking brutally hard. Sorry, I already swore at me and do that, but yeah, it's just kind of like really tough, like throwback to like a Genesis, Super Nintendo era game. It has like really frequent save points, so basically you're just trying to get through this castle and just take out a bunch of different bosses. Otherwise, I've been playing Life is Strange. I have kind of been diving back into that game, mostly because I have the season pass for Life is Strange, but I managed to forget that I had the season pass, so I'm like 2 episodes back on it now, so I'm like slowly catching up, and the first episode of it I felt was kind of like awkward and really, I don't know, it's like the way it was written, like I don't know if you guys saw the movie Juno or not.
Yeah.
No.
So like, you know, in Juno, Samantha, how like the way that Ellen Page's character speaks is kind of like, it's like
It makes you want to stab yourself in the face.
Exactly, yeah, that's putting it politely, I think.
That kind of awkwardness.
It's like that.
Like the awkwardness that makes you feel awkward inside.
Exactly. It's like every time I heard a line
painful.
Every time I heard a line in that movie, I just kind of like cringed on the inside a little bit, and like it just didn't work for me. And that was the first episode of Life is Strange. Basically, the story of the game is this girl is attending this like kind of like high school that like specializes in like liberal arts and stuff like that, but she learns that she has the ability to turn back time.
What?
And it's kind of like a like Walking Dead Telltale game where you all like every decision you make.
Do you know who's the developer?
It's Square Enix.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see them take a game like this. So in the game, basically you witness a bunch of different events happen throughout, and you can reverse time and make different things happen. So the first episode, you kind of learn the mechanics of the game. But the second episode, it gets really heavy, and I'm not going to spoil anything that happens, but it hit me like a fucking truck at the beginning. Like, I did not see it happening, but, yeah, I don't know. I've been playing that, then I've just been playing Grand Theft Auto 5 lately, which is, as we were talking about the other day, like, completely terrifying online. Because I didn't own it on console, so I wasn't aware of the fact that if you play it online, people are just trying to attack you as much as they can and take your money, and like,
So people are trying to be total dicks?
essentially it's
Or
all
are
it
they
is.
trying to be criminals, maybe?
Yeah, like, I'm not really sure what anyone's trying to be on it, but all I know is like I always go into the chat after someone kills me, and all I say is like, was it worth it? Are you proud of yourself? Like,
I would have been
what
like,
would
why? What did I
Yeah.
do to you?
exactly, and like I pretend to get really offended, and sometimes the people will apologize to me and be like, I'm really sorry,
You
but
won't hunt them down.
I don't know if you guys, do either of you guys play Grand Theft Auto 5 or
No,
not
I
really?
hate it. I hate all
I
Grand
play-
Theft Auto.
I'm-
I'm tolerating the speak of it right now.
Yeah, I bought it, like I pre-ordered it, GTA 5, but I've only played a bit of the online portion of it, mostly just the story because I'm doing like a campaign walkthrough thing on my YouTube channel. So yeah, but when I started reading about like all the cheaters and stuff where they shoot money bags at you and you can probably get banned or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
saw
didn't
something-
wanna I didn't want to risk it, and hoping that Rockstar would probably patch or kick out all the cheaters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just saw a mod the other day where I don't know if they were online or not. I didn't see any other like random players around, so I'm assuming this may have just been like single player. But this character was out of her minigun, was shooting cars.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. And I actually have a question. John, what was the game that you were talking about before Grand Theft Auto? I didn't catch the name.
Life is Strange.
It actually reminds me of, did you hear of the indie game? I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me right now, but it ran in episodes, and whenever you like screwed up, fell off a cliff or whatever, you could rewind time to the point before you screwed up and continue to go on. I remember watching something on it. I think it was a documentary on Netflix. God, I'll look it up after the podcast, and maybe we can put something down in the description.
Is it a shooting game? Is it
no,
2D
it was
shooting
this.
game?
It was this really well made.
It's Braid.
Yes, that it is.
Jonathan Blow.
go.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that game, man.
It was
haven't played
so
it.
beautiful. I played
Yep.
the demo for it, and it was such a beautiful game that I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm like a graphics junkie. Like I won't like not play a game because the graphics are bad, but there's something about indie games that kind of throws me off sometimes. And like I feel like they're getting to that point now where they're kind of like upping the bar for themselves. So you have games like Braid, and also, you know, like Super Meat Boy was really big. And
So you know how Braid, basically, Jonathan Blow, the developer, he's like a huge critic of how games does his story on a narrative. So yeah, Braid has like this super complex story, right? And it's like two stories running concurrently or something like that, right? So Braid was actually an influence of mine where I wrote a short story. So I was pretty much like writing Braid with words. So I got pretty good marks for it. So I have to thank Jonathan.
You know, so when he listens to the podcast, I'm sure Jonathan Blow will be like, all right, I got someone at least.
This guy's cool. I
Yeah,
want
no,
everyone to
I've
be
been-
on this podcast.
Jonathan
I
Blow,
meant to
if you're
play-
listening, please guest on a podcast.
we can get him. I believe in us. I've actually meant to play Braid for a really, really long time, kind of just for that reason, just because I've heard like so much about the story being told and the way that it's told, and like the fact that he's able to like intertwine this narrative like so tightly. Like, I don't know, like I majored in lit, so like I know like a bunch of like books and all that kind of garbage, and like there are a lot of books I really love where they do like similar stuff where like they manage to like weave a really complex story where there's a bunch of narrative is going on. But yeah, I guess like my last thing about Grand Theft Auto, just to pass the ball to someone else, is that like for some reason I really can't get into the single player in it, and it seems like I could just be like getting older or something, I don't know, but I can't stand any character in that game. Like, they're all just such like despicable people that's hard for me to like any of the characters within the game for some reason. So yeah, I don't know, maybe like if anyone like ends up listening to the first episode of this, they can like kind of sway me as to why I should like them a little bit more, because I'm like willing to give everything a fair shot again and like look at it from a different angle. But like as of right now, none of these people have like, any redeeming value in my mind.
I mean, I might be wrong because I haven't actually played the game, but at the beginning, don't all the characters, like, aren't they just getting out of jail or something?
Yeah, at the beginning of the game, you're I'm trying to think of really exactly what happens at the very, very beginning.
Because I remember seeing some kind of gameplay. Granted, it was a gameplay done by somebody who does not actually play video games and more of a, let's see how much I can suck at video games right now.
Yeah.
So it was incredibly hilarious, but I remember them starting out like with absolutely nothing, like pretty much like the clothes that you would walk out of jail with.
Yeah,
So.
it kind of begins in this way where the initial part of the game is you're playing as, I think, Trevor, I think the guy's name is, and you are like robbing a place, or you're running from the cops basically, and you're up like in a standoff and stuff. So it's a compelling beginning to a game, but just everything that follows so far, I'm only like 4 hours into the main storyline, so it could get a lot better, but as of now, just not grabbing me.
3 or 4 hours in, if you're not like if you're not entertained by now, I mean, I don't know how much more they could do.
Yeah, like 3 to 4 hours
pull you in.
Yeah, like 3 to 4 hours in a game is kind of like the 50-page limit to 100-page limit,
Exactly.
except for books.
Exactly.
You know?
Oh God, for books, I'm a terrible person when it comes to books. I mean, I read a lot, but if you don't have my attention by 15 pages in, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
Like GTA 5 for me, I think mechanically is like probably the best GTA game, but like you said, I don't really care too much about the story or the narrative. My favorite GTA was Vice City, because the city itself, it felt so vibrant and alive.
Yeah.
So GTA 5, the city feels mechanically alive. Like there's shit happening everywhere. You're just driving around, and then people get robbed, and there's cops chasing people. But in Vice City, because it has that 80s vibe and that Scarface influence, and so it felt really, I don't know, it just felt really compelling to play the game. While
And
GTA
that's
5,
like-
I just wanted to, I just kept going, is because I already bought the game and I probably should finish it, right?
Right, yeah, totally.
It's
You know,
just
you
like
might as
that
well
guilt.
finish it.
It's that guilt
Yeah.
that I spent $60 on
Yep.
this. I need to play it.
Yes.
Yeah, what you bring up about Grand Theft Auto that's actually really interesting is the fact that, like, it seems like the Grand Theft Auto games that are the most beloved by the players. I mean, 5 is obviously, but I think it's like kind of like going through that honeymoon period right now where everyone really,
Yeah.
really loves it.
Yeah.
But like San Andreas and Vice City are the two that are regarded as like the best ones. And when you think about it, those are the two that get like so much influence from like films and stuff. I feel like they pull so much of like you said for Vice City, like so much of like Scarface and like the show Miami Vice is like put into that game. Like same thing with San Andreas. They take influences from like, you know, the movie like Boys in the Hood and stuff like that. So like they take influence from a lot of things. So it's, I don't know if it's, I'm not like trying to throw shade on Rockstar Games or anything, but I feel like they're games where they take influence from films and like other mediums and like kind of
Yeah,
they don't
so
rip
something
it
that
off.
something that people like. So it like there's stuff that's embedded in there that we're all familiar with.
Exactly. It's like they pay like homage to things, but like in a really nice way in those games. Whereas in 5 and like with 4 especially, I just don't feel like any real attachment to it in that sense.
Yes,
But
my
anyway, I think
favorite
I think it
Rockstar
would
games
be-
were like Bully, Red Dead Redemption, GTA Vice City, and San Andreas. And you can see
Yeah.
there are certain themes, certain goals that the developer had. And I think with GTA 4 and GTA 5, they just, their goal, I'm not too sure, but I'm just picking them out of my ass, but I think their goal was just to make the biggest, most with the biggest game with the most stuff to do. But with Vice City and San Andreas, I felt compelled to keep going forward because I just want to know and just want to see what happens. So GTA 4 and GTA 5 just felt very normal to me. I'm not sure if it makes
Yeah.
sense. But
I think it would be a really cool thing to like put things into games like GTA 5 or something, because I feel like when you play a game, some games this is fine because it makes sense, and I mean I guess it makes sense in the majority of games. But having that option to not even just with like a free reign world where, you know, an open world where you can do anything, but something where like if you were playing Grand Theft Auto, obviously when you play that game, you're the criminal and you're the guy that's carjacking everybody and killing prostitutes and doing whatever else you want to fucking do. But I think it'd be cool if you could become like a vigilante justice fighter.
right,
Something
yeah.
like you
Become
see
Batman.
Batman,
like
yeah,
you
Batman
see the like you see the woman that's getting mugged on the street and you're like, I'm gonna save you, and like you get like moral points for that.
GTA 5 actually
that'd be
has
really
a system
cool.
like that.
Does it really? I mean, like
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
I have
When you
no
drive
idea what
around, right? And if there's
Mhm.
like a mugging or whatever, you can actually choose to. First, you have to go after the thief and get back the item. But after that, you get a choice of either keeping it for yourself or give it back to the victim.
So do
Yeah.
I rob the thief that just robbed?
Yeah.
right.
person or-
It's some like meta robbing
Yeah.
going on or something like that.
I mean, is it really stealing if the person you stole it from
Stole it already.
right. You know what's actually funny, because while we were talking about this, I was thinking about games where like you actually do play the good guy, I guess, like in quotes. But I don't know if you ever played, either of you played this, but the game LA Noire.
Oh, I love
it
that
was
game.
a Rocks.
I love it
It's
so
such a
much.
good game. And it's a
Yeah.
game where I don't know if you played it, Samantha.
I did
I
did
played a
not
demo
like the
for that.
I did not like the shooting part. Yeah,
Yeah.
the shooting part
I
sucks.
played a
Yeah.
demo for it. This is what I do because I can't afford games.
You should it goes on sale pretty frequently, but you should totally pick it up because it sounds like a game you would really like because they do have like the things where you play a detective and like you start as like a beat officer or whatever.
This is the one that was based around
facial recognition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
In, like LA in like the 50s.
So
or
the
40s.
cool part is you see some of the characters and then you go, I know that guy. So they take all these actors, right? And the faces look so real. So it looks quite creepy at times, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, they took, like, half the cast of the show Mad Men and just stuck them in the game.
I almost feel like when games try to be too realistic, it almost throws me off. Because when a game is very obviously cartooned or not meant to be extremely realistic, then I can completely gloss over anything that, they throw in front of me. But when you go for that super realistic, like hyper realism kind of thing, it's like, it gets to the point where I'm like, it just doesn't look right. Like, unless I feel like until they perfect that technology, I'm going to be constantly like nitpicking at it. Like, that doesn't look right to me.
We should totally do an episode just about Uncanny Valley. Because it's like a really interesting thing to talk about because some of that stuff is bizarre and completely terrifying.
And just to tell everyone, Uncanny Valley was my first choice for the name of the podcast, but it was already taken by a German label. So yeah. So Samantha, what have you been playing?
I have been playing some Banjo-Kazooie on my N64 simulator on my computer, or rather my emulator.
This is the first time we're hearing of it.
I haven't been talking about this for the past 2 days. No, I mean, it's one of these games where it's just, I feel I'm not even upset by the graphics. Like, at the time, like when it first came out and I was playing it I think I first started playing this game when I was 5 or 6. Like, obviously the graphics had absolutely no bearing on anything because, I mean, I think it was the second video game console I had ever, come in contact with. So it wasn't anything the graphics really didn't matter back then. Nobody cared. But even now, like, I'm looking at the game and obviously, I mean, there are some issues with the graphics, but it's such a fantastic game and it's so well done to the point where it's the replayability of it is just amazing because I think I've been through these first like 3 or 4 or 5 worlds, 5, 6, 7 times, and I still enjoy doing it. I'm actually to the point that where I usually get distracted by another game, so I'm to this point that I haven't played the episodes that I'm on since I was very, very young.
Yeah. And
I'm struggling to figure out how anybody found out what to do. Like how they knew what to do for the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's like in a it's kind of like a thing where in a time before like the internet being readily available for guides and stuff like that, it can be kind of tricky to like learn how to do stuff. But it's like what you said though. I mean, the way I always look at games, like when I go back and play like retro stuff, is it fair to say N64 is retro now, or am I just
I mean it's retro, especially it's definitely retro, especially when you realize that there are gamers now, like I almost feel like almost like the core gamers, the gamers that most game companies are focusing on, which is around like what the 16 to 19 range or whatever.
Yeah, 16 to like 20 something probably. Yeah.
There are some people who are playing video games now who have literally never even seen an N64 or know what it is.
Yeah. They didn't have to deal with the struggle of that controller. They don't know.
Hey, I never had an issue with that controller.
I love that controller.
I loved it.
To me, it shows like that humans can adapt to anything. Like, it's just so bizarre. But yeah, I mean, like, going back to the graphics is like, for me, when I look at games like that, like, I'm able to put myself back in the place of like respecting things within their given time frame and context.
Mm-hmm.
So like in that regard, I think like some N64 games to me still today hold up really well. Like Banjo-Kazooie is one of them. I think it's a very colorful game and like the colors pop out so well. It's very vibrant. Like Mario 64 is a game that looks really good too to me. It's like there are certainly graphical issues with both of them. Like in Mario 64, there's like points where like you can clearly break through a wall in certain spots because there's like the light will be peeking through and I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be able to go over here, but
I'm gonna do it anyway.
Exactly right.
No, But I love the fact that this game is geared towards, you know, kind of like younger kids, or I don't want to say like younger kids maybe, but I don't think that this game was ever a game that was meant for adults, even though the person that introduced it to me was my mom, and she was the only one in our house that had actually beaten the game. But when it comes down to it, it's this game that is incredibly difficult. The only thing that they tell you to do is to, hey, this is how you do this move, this is how you do this move, here, go navigate through the world and figure out all this shit for yourself, because we're not going to tell you anything. Whereas I feel like games nowadays will just kind of hand everything to you, like, hey, go do this and go do this. Banjo-Kazooie just like gives you like these little clues where it's like, oh, you know, where the Freeze Easy Peak, you have that polar bear who's just like laying on the ground and you have no idea how to help him, and you have to figure out that you have to go all the way to the top of the snowman and jump on the sled and sled down the snowman's scarf to land on the polar bear to get the puzzle piece out of his throat. I mean, how did we ever figure out to do that?
Yeah, right.
You
Seriously.
know? But I've also been playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, which I think is another game that has... I feel like it's one of the first MMOs that I've played that the storyline is extremely engaging, to the point where I think one of the reasons why it's so engaging is that your responses actually matter. And you can pick these... you can pick what you're saying and how you're going to act towards these people, and those responses have consequences, and it's not just like you hit a response and they say what they say to everybody else. Like, you're controlling a bit of your own storyline. So
yeah, I've never been into MMOs too much for some reason, but I am playing Guild Wars 2 now. It's like my first real MMO that I'm actually investing any time in, and I gotta say it's pretty good.
I tend to gravitate towards MMOs, first of all because usually has a pretty good community that kind of comes along with that, but also it's one of those, I feel like there's an MMO for everybody who is poor. Pretty much, if you are like me and you can't afford to buy, you know, the $60 game that just came out or whatever, there are a lot of options for free-to-play MMOs that, you know, are engaging and they are fun. Like, you have Star Wars, you have Neverwinter is free-to-play. I know Elder Scrolls Online, after you initially buy the $60 game, that is now free to play. You don't have to subscribe for that. Yeah. So there are some games that are coming out now that, you know, you can spend in-game money, but they aren't. It isn't a pay-to-win thing. Yeah. And that's the main thing that I look for in free-to-play games, because it pisses me off that people can go in there and say, "Hey, I'm going to buy all this stuff. I'm going to be the best," with absolutely no skill behind it.
Yeah, my current favorite free-to-play game is Smite. So it's the third-person MOBA. You guys know about it?
I downloaded it and I'm completely terrible at it, and I'm like afraid to go online and play it with people.
Wait, what is it?
Smite.
So, I haven't.
So you guys know what's a MOBA, right?
Yeah.
So like LOL, Dota 2, Dota 1, those kind of stuff. So Smite, instead of the isometric RTS Diablo camera view, it goes down to a third-person view, and because of that shift in the camera angle, it makes the game into a very skill shot based game. Because in Dota 2 and LOL, you don't really need to aim your skills unless it's an AoE, while in Smite you have to aim basically every shot, even your auto attack.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. I can play with you, John. No worries. I won't scold you or anything.
Thank you. I need it. I need the assistance. I'm completely terrified to go online. I played through the tutorial like 3 times. I'm still like,
MOBA.
I don't know what I'm doing.
The MOBA community can be very harsh.
I've heard it's very toxic.
Yeah, it is very toxic.
I'm that person that'll jump on like any online game and I'll just be like, "I'm fucking terrible. Play with me." And then I mean,
but the MOBA community,
granted,
I think because it's so competitive, because it's a team-based game, we're supposed to win. So
I only could play with friends.
When you feel that somebody is like on your team that is either weak, and then you'll start to BM the guy. So I'm not too keen about that. So I generally don't play with any voice chat at all.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing is that I used to play League of Legends with my boyfriend.
That's probably
one of
the
my
worst.
best friends.
It's probably the worst one.
And one of his friends. And the thing is that, I mean, while it is like I do enjoy playing it, I am also terrible at it.
Yeah.
So it's this thing where I feel like games are supposed to be fun, and teamwork games should be even more fun. But when it gets to that point where, like, I don't know if anybody has experience being the worst player on a team, but I have some first-hand experience, so I'll let you know. It gets to this point where it's not that you don't want to play anymore, but you don't want to make everybody lose. So then it's this weird thing where you want to get better, but you don't want to bring anybody down with you. So you end up not playing, you end up dropping out of the game. And I feel like when you create that toxic environment for people to play in where they don't have the chance to get better, and instead of actually offering advice and helping people, you end up, screaming at them or angry, caps lock typing. And it gets to the point where people don't even want to play anymore, which is sad because video games, like, we're gamers. We're supposed to be a community. Stop making people feel bad.
Yeah, the toxic community in Smite, there's this like a voice, not voice, it's like a command system. So you press V and then you can give like commands to each other, like telling people enemies missing or you're gonna go get a buff or something, right?
Couldn't you do that in League of Legends too?
I'm not sure. I didn't play LOL.
I think you can, because I vaguely remember everybody on my team giving me orders.
Yeah, so basically
when I was just running away, I would play Teemo, and I'm just like, here's a mushroom. I'm just gonna lay mushrooms everywhere.
So when you put in like a VER, the voice will say, "You rock," something like that, right? But people tend to use it in a sarcastic way. So if you die, then it will be VER, "You rock."
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
it's really funny, actually.
Yeah, it is kind of funny, yeah. So it's not that bad, I guess. But it can be annoying because I've played like at least 200, 300 hours of that game.
Damn.
Yeah. I love it. So yeah, every time I die, "You rock." So it gets kind of annoying after the millionth time.
I still think the voiceover from Unreal Tournament is by far the best voiceover that has ever been voiced.
Yeah, I agree entirely.
Double kill.
Triple kill.
Rampage.
God, the best.
I loved it. It was the most satisfying feeling in the world, and not only given the fact that Unreal Tournament is probably one of the best first-person shooter games ever. I mean, you could disagree with me on that, but I feel like it kind of opened the door for a lot of games that we play today.
Hopefully, no Call of Duty fanboys are listening in.
Yeah, that'll be dangerous
you know what? Come at me, because without Unreal Tournament, first-person shooters would be sad.
I think a lot of like the arena-based like online shooters would be in a kind of weird place if Unreal Tournament didn't do some of the things it did.
I can see the influence in MOBAs too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys want to go to the first topic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go for it.
Cool. So
let's get back on topic, guys.
So,
we can do it.
Waypoints in games. So waypoints in games. So who wants to start?
Mm-hmm. I can take a stab at it if you want me to.
Yeah, sure. Go on.
Cool. So it's kind of a topic that I drafted up for us because we were trying to come up with things for us to talk about in this episode, and I actually just went back and revisited the game Skyrim, which, hands down is like an incredible game. Mm-hmm. But there's one thing that I really thought about a ton while playing it was everything is really told to you while you're playing where you need to be going next. Like on your map, you consistently have a little marker pop up that'll say like, "Oh, you need to go to this cave," or "You need to go over to this like town and talk to these people."
And just to clarify, when we're talking about waypoints, we're talking about stuff like quest paths and showing where you need to go, either directly on your screen, like a little glowing line in front of you, or on the map. Okay. Just
Yeah,
to
exactly.
clarify for everybody.
Yeah, totally. Because I mean, like waypoints can go like all over the place. It can be for any game. It can mean something
Exactly.
different. So I was using an overarching thing. So I guess like I think about Skyrim and it tells you where to go for every single thing. Same with like Oblivion does the same thing. I mean, there's some objectives where it's a little more, hey, you can try doing it this way or you can go this way and do it. But I actually went back and thought about a previous Elder Scrolls game in Morrowind where the game had almost, I think actually had no waypoints in it, and you had to really just kind of learn things for yourself. And it wasn't just like it wasn't like a matter of guessing. It was more so you would look at journals, you would look at like notes people left for you. You have to listen to conversations, write them down on a sheet of paper.
Yeah, so it gives you more. I guess it's putting you more in that adventurer state of mind, like having to figure it all out by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think that's like what I really loved about like some of these earlier games was that it was on you to figure out how to do it. It wasn't. It was the journey, not the destination, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that actually kind of goes back to like what I was talking about with Banjo-Kazooie. They give you nothing, and it was still an extremely fun game. But I also think when it comes to waypoints and the fact that so many games have them, is because I think the games that we're playing, the worlds are getting much larger than they were.
Yeah.
So you have those people that would get extremely frustrated not knowing
Where to go?
Sorry, I have a Mountain Dew throat right now. Not knowing where to go
What to
and
do
not
next? Yeah.
exactly, and they'd get extremely frustrated. They would end up putting the game down. So
Yeah.
I think in a way, the developers kind of have to cater to some of those. I don't want to call them casual gamers, but the people that aren't as invested in like the actual adventuring part as so much like just like playing the game. But I think there's also you'll find with a lot of the games that do have waypoints, because I know Neverwinter has waypoints, that you can turn them off, and that you don't have to have those quest paths, and you can adventure for yourself and not. I mean, granted, I usually have them on when I play on a really big in a really big world, just because my sense of direction in real life is terrible. So put me in a game and it's a little worse.
Yeah, so I'm the type that I can't. Without a waypoint, I'll probably be lost.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like so I remember playing like Kingdoms of Amalur on the PS3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love that game, but there was
I'm an Xbox person. I never had a PlayStation 3.
So
I had a PS2.
So there was like a bug, right? I opened it up one day, and there was a bug where the minimap was just gone. And the interest,
Oh, no.
yeah. So the
Hardcore mode.
Yeah, the first thing that I tried was to go into the options menu. Like, did I do anything wrong or something? I reloaded the save game and all that, and it was just still gone. But then I just played the game. I continued playing the game, and for the first time, I realized how beautiful the game was.
Yeah.
Because every time I get a mission or anything, I'll be looking at the minimap to know where to go.
Exactly,
Even
and that's the only thing that you look at.
Yeah,
That's
even
the only
during
thing
the
you look at is
battles,
where you need to go.
even during the fighting, I want to know where each enemy is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just constantly looking at the map. I'm dodging, I'm killing people, but constantly looking at the minimap. So I appreciate that games give us the option to turn off like waypoints and minimaps. But for a player like me, where I'm the type of person that if you give me Minecraft, I have no idea what to do. I'll be like, what the hell is this? So
I
You
tried
turn
playing
on
Minecraft.
creative mode and you go ape shit. That's
yeah,
what
so
you do.
so like a 12-year-old girl was trying to show me what to do in Minecraft, right? So I was like, what on earth do you want me to do again? So she was
totally.
and the funny thing is, she was actually giving me directions on what to do in Minecraft, which is totally opposite of what the developers were going for, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
but
just
when
funny,
you don't know how to play, I mean, you can just kind of go with it. I mean, another way to look at the waypoints, kind of a weird way to look at the waypoints, is when you look back at games. Yeah, I might be wrong about this, but did you guys play Kingdom Hearts?
Yes.
Yeah,
1 and 2.
I didn't play it, but I watched
Did
someone
they
play
have
it.
a mini map? I do not remember a
Yes,
mini map.
I believe they do. Yeah, I
Did
think they
they?
did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 2 they did, I think.
think-
Well, I do know that with with some of the older games, it wasn't even an option. Like, it hadn't even come out yet. Like,
Right.
we
Yeah.
weren't even at that point.
But isn't that just
And-
a product of like game mechanics evolving
And
over
it
time?
could be a product of game mechanics, but it can also be a product of, I don't want to say dumbing it down, but making games a little bit easier to attract more gamers. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to look at the fact that, almost everybody that had an N64 played Banjo-Kazooie, and a really decent, part of them beat the game. And we had nothing to go on with that. I don't even know if there was a game informer or like a walkthrough for that game back then.
I'm sure there was like a guide from like Prima Guides or Games or
Yeah,
whatever.
but-
I love how hyped you are on Banjo-Kazooie, by the way.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that it's the game that's in my mind that I know
Totally.
doesn't have any waypoints, because I know Star Wars does, and I'm still at that point where there is no way I'm even looking into turning the waypoints off on that game, because
Definitely.
oh my god. But you have these games that didn't even think of having a mini map, and I feel like the first games that actually had mini maps were like the racing games, and that was
Yeah.
only like so you could see the layout of the track and like where you were in accordance to everybody else.
Totally, yeah.
But there were so many games that we played where we had no problem not having a mini map. So I feel like now it's this thing where we're trying to appeal to more gamers. We want more people to, come to the dark side with us. And I think that the developers are kind of honing in on that and making more games more casual friendly versus
Totally.
just appealing to that hardcore, like the people that are in guilds and, are regular
And-
players and subs and everything.
Totally, yeah. It's actually funny because I'm actually, while we're talking about this, I'm kind of like coming with ideas in my head as to why like all these things are kind of necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the landscape of gaming has changed so much. It's like
Yeah.
before, like when you think about it, like I remember being in like middle school and being like really, really deep into like some games, and it was like a thing. Like I didn't get bullied for it, but it was kind of like, oh, it's like lame, dorky, nerdy, whatever.
I was
Whereas
a Harry
now-
Potter nerd, and
Yeah,
I
right.
read a lot of books. I know what you mean.
So like it's a thing where now I feel like so much of like gaming on like a wider, it's more widely accepted by people, and I think there, like everyone kind of has like their game that they play. I think whether it's like a person who's playing like a match 3 puzzle game on the train, like freaking what's it called,
Oh, Candy Crush.
Candy Crush, right?
Candy
So Candy Crush, or there are people also going home playing like MMOs and MOBAs and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing with Waypoints is that it helps with your time management, because a lot of people playing games don't necessarily have the time to dedicate to roaming around and just having fun and stuff. And I think the fact that the fan base and user base for games is so large now that like the reason I play games, a lot of people play games, is like the sense of accomplishment when you do something. And if you spend a session where you don't get something,
Accomplish
where you don't do anything right, it's like it would suck if you fired up Banjo-Kazooie and you didn't find like how to go down the guy's scarf or whatever. Like it would kind of suck. I mean, for like a modern person playing a game, maybe.
I'm in this situation now.
Yeah, right.
I
So
have
it's like
no idea what's going on now. But
totally, yeah. It's like that thing where it's like I think people, because everyone has such limited time, they feel like you need the waypoints. Like, hey, here's where you want to go.
almost
and this
like
will
the
progress
easy
story.
access games, like the games that you can pick up and just play.
Totally.
There,
It's-
there isn't necessarily this huge learning curve or all these things that you need to be able to do beforehand. It's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Pick up and play.
It's become kind of like a generational thing. Because like when I think about like when I was a kid, like my dad and I would play so many old games, and like most of them, we had a pen and paper out. And we wrote down like, okay, to get back to where we were, we go left here, go forward on this thing. Like there's like text adventure games where you literally have to say like face north, walk forward, and like type it in.
Yeah, no,
Right,
I can't.
so-
I can't do that.
See, I can go back and like throw it down on like Zork and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's just very interesting to see how like waypoints have really become so prominent in games today, and like why they have become prominent as like a device within a game.
Right.
It's hard to kind of like figure exactly why it happened, and like I'm not sure I'm like annoyed that it happened, because it totally makes sense,
You mentioned
Yeah,
that
and I mean-
about the time thing, right? That people just
Yes.
have less time, and
Yeah.
you're gonna graduate soon, right? And gonna get a job, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you understand.
Yeah, right. I'm dreading those moments.
Yeah, just keep.
I just
playing.
changed my career path, so I got a little while to go.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's just a product of like evolution.
Yeah.
Like games previously, like the retro games. I understand that a lot of people like to say it was harder back then, but I think it was by design rather than the developers was trying to just trying to make a difficult game for people. It's more
I think that the
things
games
just getting evolved over
before-
time.
Yeah, I think the games before, I think they were more focused on like just actually just getting what they wanted out versus I feel like now like everything, like you have a little bit of, you know, who's actually, you know, giving you the funds to make the game, and you have a little bit of this, and you have a little bit of, you know, the fans say they want this. Where before I feel like it was just the developers, and the developers were saying, yeah, we want to go this way. And but I feel like when it comes to the waypoints and everything, I think, in my opinion, I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that, like I said, it does appeal to that casual audience, or the people that aren't necessarily, you know, really into it. Because you look at when you look at games that have different modes, like you have, you know, like the easy mode, normal, and then you have your advanced levels or your hardcore modes or stuff like that. Those games, once you get up to those hardcore levels, a lot of the times the mini-map disappears, your waypoints can disappear. And
Right.
so to me, that kind of says that for the more like hardcore gamer, they take away those like the aids. And I think that kind of shows like maybe why they're used. I could just be completely talking out of my ass right now.
Yeah, no, that actually makes a lot of sense. I completely agree. So I suppose we should look into our next topic.
Yeah.
I think, right?
Anybody else
Okay.
want to add anything regarding waypoints?
About waypoints? I'm talked out on waypoints.
Yeah, right. So I'm actually going to pitch that Samantha picks which thing we go into, hatred or ukulele. I feel like I know which one you want to talk about because you're excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, how long are we looking for this podcast right now?
We are at about 42 minutes, and we're aiming for an hour, so I'm almost wondering if we just do ukulele.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and then see if we have
Hatred for another-
time.
Right, yeah, totally.
Do you think it's okay if
because
we
I
just
think
go over an hour?
Yeah, we can
yeah.
definitely go over a little
Sure.
bit an hour.
Yeah, sure.
I think the reason why I kind of want to focus on ukulele first is because I'm really excited about this game, and I think a lot of people will be excited about this game versus hatred. I think it's mostly a publicity stunt and something that none of us are excited about. So I want to talk about ukulele, and this is a new platformer game. They have raised. It started on Kickstarter. They've raised $2.6 million for it, and because they have hit every single one of their stretch goals, the game will be released for PC, Mac, Linux, Wii U, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 all on the same day. It won't be like that PC users have to wait or Xbox One, users have to wait. Everything's coming out the same exact time. And it's from the developers that created Banjo-Kazooie. You have Chris Sutherland, who's the project director, and he was the lead programmer on Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong Country.
Nice.
You have Steve Males, I'm going to go with. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he's the character artist, and he worked on Banjo-Kazooie and the Donkey Kong Country characters. Stephen Hurst is the environmental artist. He did the worlds for Banjo-Kazooie and in the environment for Donkey Kong Country, and they also have the same voice actors and the original from Banjo-Kazooie, and they also have some of the original Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong Country composers. So the soundtrack is, from what I've heard so far, is going to be really awesome. And
Yeah.
I like the fact that they brought in the voice actors, because when you think about Banjo-Kazooie, they're really, they don't talk, do they? Alright, so they're bringing back those guys.
What's
that-
the name of the mole in Banjo-Kazooie? I'm trying to remember his name. Is it Bottles?
Goggles?
Goggles or something, yeah.
Well, is it Goggles or Bob?
I'm,
Oh, Lord.
oh boy.
Okay, I think
We'll
Kazooie
research
called
it.
him Goggle Boy and Goggles and stuff. So we'll
Okay.
just, I mean, it's a pet name, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So pretty much, the game focuses on Yooka Laylee. Yooka being a green chameleon and Laylee being a purple bat with a very large red nose. I really like the fact that they're trying to stick to... They're trying to bring back that team unit that they had with Banjo-Kazooie.
Right.
Which is really cool. They have new moves and stuff like that, and it has that same feel of the platformer games, and it has that same feel of Banjo-Kazooie. And what's really interesting is, like I said earlier, we're at this point where younger gamers have never even seen an N64. So there are a lot of people, this will be a lot of people's first like real experience with a platformer game, and they won't even know what Banjo-Kazooie was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have the people that loved Banjo-Kazooie and might possibly be still playing it. And those people are going to love the game too. And I think it's just going to please like a lot of gamers. And I think a lot of people are going to love it. And I'm hoping that this kind of launches platformers again.
Yeah, that would be really great. It's actually really interesting to kind of going off what you said. Like half the reason it seems like you're really excited about it is the fact that it is going back and it's kind of like a revival of like the 3D platformer style. And like I love that on their Kickstarter page it straight up says like, let's resurrect the Buddy Duo platformer. Like obviously a little pun in the resurrect
with rare
part.
games.
Yeah, right. So it's interesting though, because like I think about how they were able to raise so much money like for this project, and like so much of it is like nostalgia driven, and in that I
think almost the majority of it was nostalgia driven.
Totally. So it's like interesting, I guess, and it's kind of like leads into what we wanted to talk about. I think with like how Yooka Laylee was able to raise so much money, both because it looks like a really good product, but also I think the fact that like they do have a lot of like big name people backing this or being a part of this project. You have like so many of like the former Rare staff people. You have you know, people who did the soundtrack, David Wise, and oh my gosh, I forgot the other guy's name. It's terrible, but Grant Kirkhope. There we go. So you know, you have these like composers that are really well known as well, and it's incredible to see a game like this making so much money on Kickstarter. So I'm trying to think of really how we should phrase this, but I guess it's that like it seems like big name companies are able to go to Kickstarter and like raise like so much money for their projects. So do you guys feel like there's any like danger in that? Do you feel like
definitely right? Because
yeah,
like,
I mean there.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, no, go ahead. I was talking. Go for it.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, they will probably come out with a good product, right? Because they've done it before. They have the expertise and everything. But I think one of the big part is you should manage people's expectations. Like Banjo-Kazooie is like a classic, and it's like in everybody's hearts. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so will Yooka Laylee be the same thing? Because it's not exactly the same characters. Yeah, it's essentially the same game, but I think having the falling in love with the characters itself is one big part of it.
Yeah, and I feel like what they have delivered so far, I mean, that you guys can check out their Kickstarter. If you just go to Google, type in Yooka Laylee, you'll be able to see their Kickstarter. But the video that they made for that, just those little snippets that you see of the game, they took 3 months just to develop that video for it. I mean, the projected date for it to come out, if they had met all their, you know, their goals, which they did, and then some, is October of 2016. So we have to wait to see what's actually going to happen with it. But from what I've seen so far, it's not promising really to be Banjo-Kazooie. It's promising to kind of bring back the feeling of Banjo-Kazooie, and I think they really are going to deliver on that, because I don't see how the developers that originally made the game, it's not like we have the sons or the daughters of the developers saying, hey, we're going to come out with the game that our parents came out with and everything. We actually have the actual developers. I don't really see how they could really mess it up that bad, especially when they have, you know, what, $2.4 million over their original budget.
Yeah.
So I don't really see how they could really mess it up. But I think that there is a danger when it comes to, and see, I feel like almost the danger is lessened when you do donate to a big company. Because when you donate to a company or to well-known developers, it's, I don't know if it's really assumed, but it's pretty much, it's knowledge that these people have the ability and the resources to create what you're donating towards.
I understand
And
that
when
Kickstarter want to label themselves as a donation platform, but we have to face the facts that people don't really use it as a donation platform anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's more of a store, right? We were just talking about it the other day, and when it comes,
I kind of disagree with that.
Well, when it comes to buying a product, you kind of have some sort of expectations, and and even if the developers don't put the Banjo-Kazooie kind of name on it, the consumers are doing it.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, my thought is, because I know that when we're talking about it being a store, I guess you're referring to the fact that when people donate, they get things for donating.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, my thought process for this is that, yeah, there are some people that will say, you know what, instead of donating $25 to this thing that I think should be in the world, I'm going to donate $50 because if I donate $50, then they're going to give me a free copy of the game, which is awesome. I think that, yeah, there are those like little incentives that, well, there are those incentives to donate more money, but at the same time, I don't think it's something where people that don't already want to donate and that aren't interested in it, I don't think that it's going to make people feel like they have to donate. And for me, it's this thing where it's a gratitude thing. You know, you donated to my project, and because of that, I'm going to thank you by giving you free merch or, you know, a copy of the game, copy of the soundtrack, signed posters, you know, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really think of it as a store. I think of it more as like rewards for helping people.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to look at it that way, I think, too, to an extent. I think like, there are people that definitely use it as a store, and I think, like, I mean, regardless of use it as a store or not, I mean, like, there's, like, kind of like a common saying that is, like, you vote with your money, which is basically, like, if you want something to happen or not happen, it depends how much money you're willing to throw down on it. Like, if there's, like, a game that everyone knows is going to be terrible that's coming out, to ensure that another piece of garbage, to ensure another garbage game doesn't come out, don't buy it. So if they see low sales numbers on that, you'll never get another dumb game by, you know, whatever game. But whereas like Yooka Laylee, it's like, hey, we're gonna entice you to spend more money by offering more things for you. Like, here, I'm completely making up Kickstarter goal stuff, so like forgive me if I'm completely off. It's like you give $150, you'll get a T-shirt, you get the soundtrack, you get like a beer cozy, and like
you were actually on track until that last one.
Okay, so you get a bunch of stuff basically, which, like, you know, it's good in that I think it is important to reward people for giving extra in a sense. You know, it's like, it's kind of like collector's editions with games. Like, if you're gonna spend the extra couple bucks, you know, you might as well get some cool stuff with it too.
But how do you guys feel about paying money for something that's not made yet? Even though there's a big name backing it up and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that?
That's tricky. I think Samantha should go first on this one.
I think it's not so much that I'm paying money for something that I don't really think about it like that. I think it's I'm giving money to help something exist. Mm-hmm. Something that I want to be in the world, I'm going to give money to. So I think I may have donated to Yooka Laylee, I can't remember. But one of the things I do remember donating to was Tabletop and Nerd HQ.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the reason why I did Nerd HQ is because, first of all, they give so much to charity with their panels. They also post all of their panels online for free. So regardless of whether or not I was going to be able to get out to San Francisco for Comic-Con, for Nerd HQ, I would still be able to, you know, see the panels and everything. I give to things that I want to exist. And if they don't reach the goal, then they don't reach the goal. But I give to things that I want to be in the world. So I don't really see it as like buying something that isn't there yet. I see it as I'm helping to create something.
Okay, so you're pretty much a huge Banjo fan, right? And
yes.
Do you have some sort of expectations with Yooka Laylee?
I mean, I do have the expectations that it looks graphically stunning. It looks amazing, and I think that comes down to having those original character artists and environmental artists. As far as gameplay goes, I'm not super picky. I mean, I have looked up some of the features. They came out with new things that weren't in Banjo-Kazooie, like expandable worlds, where the worlds that you really like, you can expand them by finding like little Easter egg type things. As at least that's how I explain. That's how I.
Yeah, I'm looking at the page right now. I think it's pretty much spot on.
Yeah, and I really, my expectation for the game is that I think it's going to be really fun, and that's pretty much my only expectation for the game. Is that I think that the games that I think that the games that I really enjoy aren't necessarily the games that are super intricate and super complicated and everything. Like, some games, they should just be fun, and I think that's what I'm looking forward to with Yooka Laylee. Like, that's my expectation.
Totally. It's interesting, because I was thinking about the question that was posed to us about how do we feel about backing something that we don't know will exist, or something that hasn't been made yet. And like, for me, it's no, like, I wish I had paid more attention to the Yooka Laylee stuff, because I totally would have actually backed it, I think, because it's a game that...
Actually, there's still 21 days left.
Oh, sweet. So I can still back it.
Yeah, you can back it. For anybody that's interested, listening to the podcast, that wants to donate to the podcast, or not to the podcast, to Yooka Laylee. Not to the podcast. I don't want your money yet.
Yeah.
Soon, yeah.
For Yooka Laylee, if you guys want to donate, granted, they're way past their goal, so at this point you can pretty much donate to whatever you want if you want to use it as a shopping spree.
The cheapest level right now is $87.
Oh,
wait,
is
what?
it?
Yeah, the rest are all out. Yeah, the cheapest one is $87, but you get the T-shirt and the beer thing or whatever. I'm not sure.
You might, man, my beer cozy, yeah, man. So,
it's not a beer cozy.
I wish. So I was thinking about that though, and like, for me, a lot of it is, I feel confident giving money to certain people, and I think this is one where I'd feel comfortable doing it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot, like, I hate to say this because we'll like break some people's hearts, but I feel like a lot of like indie devs, I'm not always gonna be willing to throw money their way on certain things unless they have like a good track record of projects.
It's that
which
trust.
is kind of sad,
like,
right? Like, how are they gonna make something if they have no money in the first place?
But yeah, totally. It's a vicious cycle, really. But like, then I consider
need money to make the money to make the thing.
Exactly. So then I consider, like, there are developers I know will pull through and make their product, but like, I don't personally trust them to put out the product I want.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna name names, Peter Molyneux, but I think it's like when I heard he did the Kickstarter for that game Goddess, and it was like a huge thing. But did it even come out ever?
Yeah, it did.
I don't think it did.
It did, but it sucked.
That's what I remember hearing.
Yeah, it became pretty much a. You know what? He basically promised us like a popular spiritual sequel, right? But but it didn't. When it came out, it was basically a mobile game.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, if you didn't know about Goddess and you just downloaded it on your mobile without knowing who was behind it, you'd probably say this is a pretty good mobile game. But if you were backing your Kickstarter, you had the expectations. Okay, Peter Molyneux, the guy who made Black and White, the guy who made Fable, the guy who made Populous, and this guy know his stuff. Although yes, he has a history of like saying stupid shit. We all know that. But but if you backed that game up and you had it on like Steam, and it still came with microtransactions, you'd probably be pissed, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes down to when people are asking to, hey, help me make this awesome product that I want to share with everybody, It really has to come down to the fact that they have to make us believe in them. They have to make us have faith in the fact that they are actually going to provide what they're saying that they're going to do. Because it's one thing for me to say, you know, hey, you guys can donate to the people that created Banjo-Kazooie, and so many people are aware of this. But when you say, hey, you should go donate to, you know, Samantha because she's going to come out with an awesome new game, I should have to explain myself, and I should have to say, you know, everything I'm about to say are going to be lies, but this should be true for the people that that are making Kickstarters and everything, is that I should show the fact that I do have the know-how, the technical ability, the resources to make what I'm saying. I just need some help with that.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
what
I think it comes down to.
I'm fine with donating. It's like, you guys know about Patreon?
Yeah.
So
Wait, sorry, what?
Patreon?
So
I'm unfamiliar.
So that's a true donating platform where
okay.
yeah,
okay.
you can pretty much like donate to your favorite content creators on like a monthly or a per video or per whatever production basis.
Okay.
And a few YouTubers are doing it, and they're making quite a lot of money. Like Jim Sterling, I think he's making like $10,000 per month.
The big YouTubers are making insane amounts of money without
Yeah,
even like
so
with just producing their content.
yeah, so when I have a bit more money, I'm probably gonna donate to Jim Sterling and hopefully Boogie2988. I love you, Boogie. So hopefully Boogie2988 opens up a Patreon, and I'll donate that too. But yeah, I'm not expecting much. I'm doing it because I love their content. I love them. I want to support them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
when it comes to donating and knowing that
Yeah,
product
yeah,
is coming,
yeah.
I think there's a different dynamic over there.
Yeah, maybe we should call it something a little bit different. Like maybe not donating so much as backing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is which is what I think they actually call it on Kickstarter. So,
Backers, yeah.
Woo! So we're backing something, we're getting behind it, we're standing behind it and saying, hey, I believe in this, so I'm going to put my money behind this. And
Do you think? Do you guys think Patreon would work for like a developer? Like they'll get like monthly $2,000-$3,000 to cover all their stuff, and like
I don't really know, because I mean, first of all, I have no idea really how games are made. Magic and pixie dust. And,
yep, that's
you know,
yeah, that's it. Honestly,
and it
But
sort
I
of like
think-
gives a bit of responsibility on the developers, because if you
Yeah.
want to keep this donation up, you would need to like give weekly or monthly updates, right?
right.
If
Yeah,
not, they would
and
yeah. So I'm thinking,
I think
is
Kickstarters
Patreon...
usually.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I think Kickstarters usually do that. I think the one reason why this probably wouldn't work for developers is the fact that they need that bulk sum of money up front. At least that's what
Yeah.
I'm assuming, is that they need that money to pay the people that are working with them, to pay for the equipment or the technology or whatever
Yeah.
they need to buy. I think that I don't think it would really work
Yeah, I
as
totally
like a
get that.
monthly payment.
But maybe for a smaller project.
Yeah,
because
maybe for like something
ukulele
smaller.
is huge. Because
Yeah,
we gotta admit that ukulele is like on another level compared to the other Kickstarter stuff out there.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
it's
it's insane.
It's like the same level as what was the like first success on Kickstarter, the adventure game Broken Age by that company.
Oh yeah, shoot.
Yeah.
Broken Age by Double Fine.
Double
right?
Fine, yeah. So like
yeah.
on Kickstarter, there's just like a few different levels. There's like the Double Fine ukulele guys and the Koji Igarashi guys, and there's everybody else. So
Yeah.
maybe everybody else can actually look at Patreon. I'm not sure. I'm just shooting stuff.
I mean,
yeah.
I think in a way, like kind of the pay model for a lot of those like MMOs, especially like early on with like EverQuest and stuff, where it was like, yeah, you pay $15 a month additional, and that's to like do server maintenance. So in a way, that kind of like was a predecessor to Patreon, I think. Except that's not really donation; it's mandatory to play the damn
Oh, yeah,
game.
Yeah.
But in a sense, it's kind of the same thing. Where it's I could see that working. Like, yeah, give us money like each month. You'll shoot us $5, and we'll like keep this running, or we'll do whatever. Like, I feel like there's definitely a way you can use Patreon to like fund a game or like keep a game alive if the servers desperately need funding. But
maybe not to create one.
yeah, it's just kind of tricky. Like I think in doing that, because at a certain point, it's like, okay, yeah, we're doing, we're 5 months in, we're charging you $5 a month, we're giving you updates consistently. Oh yeah, guess what? We're just gonna pull the plug on this. Bye.
Yeah,
Like,
and then yeah,
Which
I
is a
feel
risk
like,
on Kickstarter as well, right?
right.
Yeah.
well, but don't you get your money refunded if they don't reach their goal? And
That's
Yeah,
what, If they
don't reach their
reach their goal,
goal,
if they reach their goal, then they can actually just run away with the money. Actually,
they can. It's
Yeah.
happened before. And I
yeah,
think the
many
thing-
times.
Yeah, it's dangerous. And the thing is, like, I feel like until I'm ready to start throwing money at Kickstarter for things, which I'm probably going to do after this podcast with Yooka Laylee, I feel like this, like, we just name this podcast the Yooka Laylee Pod. Like, at a certain point,
Yeah.
like, we are bumping them. But
Yooka Pod.
it's like it's a thing where, like, I'm not ready to do it just because I'm so afraid that it's going to happen. Like, they will take my money and will not deliver a product. So I feel like it's almost like on Kickstarter's end, they need to create a contract with the developer or with whoever's posting
Yeah.
something to Kickstarter to be like, hey, we would really, like, it's awesome
But-
you want to use our service, but you need to make sure you promise these people a thing, and if you don't do it, there should be a lawsuit or something. I don't know,
I mean, but aren't they already like kind of opening themselves up to a lawsuit in a way? I mean, they're asking for people's money. They're promising that they're going to deliver something. So if they didn't deliver it, then, I mean, couldn't the people that, I mean, I feel like the people that donated $5, $10 really aren't going to care that much because, I mean, like I said, I can't even remember what I donated to because I'm never that donator that donated 500, 600 thousands of dollars to these Kickstarters. But I feel like those people, if the developer did take the money and run, that they would have the right, and they could probably get money or get their money back at least.
But that's
by
assuming
suing the actual developers.
But that's assuming you read the fine print, right?
yeah, that's the thing. A lot of times in the fine print, it's like,
So I'm not too
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
It's probably not there.
yeah.
Has there been a
lot of-
lawsuit?
I don't know if it's been a lawsuit, but I know for a fact that, like, a lot of times you can say, oh, it's our intent to do this, and we need this money so we can pursue this. But at the end of the day, they don't necessarily have to give you that, nor do they have to. It's like you're paying for the idea, which is kind of like the scary part of it, I guess. But, like, again, it's a trust thing. Like, it's like a relationship with whoever. Like, yeah, I would date Rare. I'd probably marry, like, the people from Rare, but I wouldn't marry Peter Molyneux. So whatever. It's a complicated relationship.
Okay, so just because we're talking about it, I am on Kickstarter right now, and there is something that shows the accountabilities. Pretty much it says that it's the project creator's responsibility to complete the project. Kickstarter isn't involved.
Right.
Kickstarter does not guarantee the projects or investigate the creator's ability to complete the project. The backers ultimately decide the validity and worthiness of a project by whether or not they decide to fund it. Launching a Kickstarter is a very public act, and creators put their reputations at risk when they do. Backers should look for creators who have a clear plan. So it's kind of just like what we were talking about. That when you decide to back somebody, if you are worried about it not going through or them not being what they say they are, that you need to look at what they're promising and the fact that they have shown their ability to create their project. They have shown the fact that they have a plan, and they're not just like, hey, I'm going to do this thing, it's going to be awesome, and just go with me on this. Like, somebody that obviously has a plan, and you just need to be smart about who you're donating to, I think. But again, Kickstarter makes a good point that it is a really public thing to go on Kickstarter and say, hey, give me money to help me make this awesome thing. Because if they were to take the money and run, then, I mean, you know how the internet works.
Yeah, good luck ever making another thing.
Yeah.
Jerks.
Say, boo, we don't like you anymore. And then,
Gosh.
They won't ever be able to make another game with anybody's money but themselves or a very large loan from the bank.
Totally.
But if it's somebody that goes on Kickstarter looking to make a quick buck, I don't think they care whether they have a reputation or not.
Yeah, they don't care. Yeah.
True, but I also feel like those will be the people that stand out as not having a clear plan, as not having a solid business plan, a solid plan for their creation, for their product, for their video game, whatever it is. And so that way, it all just comes down to having to being smart about who you're donating towards, to look it up and, you know, just make sure that who you're giving your money to is what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
That summarizes it all, I think, really.
So I think that wraps up our first episode.
It does, I think.
So
Yeah.
Cool.
So no hatred today.
No,
Yeah, no
hatred today.
hatred.
That is a battle for another day, I think.
Ooh, yeah, that's gonna be a long battle.
So yeah, you can find us Play on Ultra over at Facebook, the Twitter, and the YouTubes. Hopefully I have all of that set up before I put this